as great as the American so-called Negro. We hate ourselves.
Right! That's right!
Because of the teachings and the trainings of our slave master.
Yes, sir!
Who put one of us against the other.
When Elijah Muhammad spoke, the black poor listened.
Your slave master and all of his children are none other than the devil.
Elijah Muhammad referred to the United States as the wilderness of North America because his people had nowhere to go and no one to turn to until he was sent by Allah to wake up America's sleeping blacks by teaching them Islam. According to Muhammad, Islam was the true religion of black people before they were stripped of it by their slave masters and forced to become Christians. He taught his followers that the white man's heaven was the black man's hell.
There's no such thing as you are going to die and one day come up out of the earth meeting your friends that also died before you. I said, get out of that slavery teaching. That's the white man's teaching to keep you blind, deaf, and dumb to the knowledge of Christ.
According to the nation's history, Elijah Muhammad got his teachings from this man, a silk peddler, who claimed to be Allah in the flesh. The two of them met in the ghetto of Detroit in 1930, and that's where they began the Nation of Islam. Times were hard, so they attracted their first members by promising them more prosperous lives.
The first teachings that the ministers were given, and all of them knew it by heart, I knew it by heart, says if you will accept Allah in the person of Master Farad Muhammad and his messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and become a Muslim and support this Nation of Islam, that Allah has promised you that he will give you money, plenty money, good homes, and friendship in all walks of life. This was the teaching. This was the opening. This was the bait.
Elijah Muhammad used all the bait he could to fish dead blacks out of the grave of North America, so he opened businesses to lure those who needed jobs.
So we used a lot of tricks to get them to come there. And we told them if they were poor, say, look, we got jobs. Say, we make jobs for our people. And we did.
The nation also provided education of a very basic nature for its adult members. Elijah Muhammad referred to the minds of his people as baby minds, because under slavery, their minds had never been developed.
Yeah, Renaissance child, heaven raiser, Raziel, on earth as it is in heaven, wings up. Yo, let me see your heavenly swagger. You gotta do it like this with me. Renaissance 76, some say heavily sent. My pitch got my enemy sick. Now I'm back independent as Prince, a young black industry pimp. That'll flip, more money that's spent, more flows for your memory chip. When I empty a clip, I don't miss like the Kennedy hit. I'm Max Julian, the millionaire mind inside a hooligan. Got chicks that's Peruvian that slip toolies in clubs and parties. The Project Marcus Garvey, turn the hood to the woods or a dark safari. Spit game that's older than the black Atari. Or I can upgrade quicker than a fast still denim and Gore-Tex, but more or less I'm ready for war vets. No Rolex or homo sex. I rode off jets, I slept with the tech in my polo vest. Go back like a Memorex tape cassette, but still I rep my project back at the F. Red Hook got him shook up, gasping for breath. Haunt niggas on the third day after my death. Amazing grace, I ain't with the bathing apes. A&Rs wanna hate, try to tell me to wait. Put out a mixtape, don't make me spit in your face. Put this 40 to your head, make you dig in the safe. I'm the great Constantine, I conquer kings. I'm a Renaissance child from my father's genes. Like Joseph interpreting the Pharaoh's dream. Man, business affairs better have my cream. Now the white man plan is to have my queen. I seen bosses with Maybelline on. Got sick of hearing Brook, now I needed a theme song. I'm reborn, I'm back now, getting my eat on. It's heaven raises, so be gone. Be gone.
I don't have any money.
Yo, your physician got you worse than crackheads. Man with the plan, get you needing them damn meds. The corporations controlling the airwaves. They own your brain, you ain't nothing but their slaves. The feds reading your Twitters and your Facebooks. They be tapping your cells, tracking your smells, put you back in your cells. On TV, every politician flip-flop and it don't stop. Amateur porn sites, bitches lick cock, Planned Parenthood. Their basis, the sterilization of so-called genetically inferior races. Nazis using eugenics to kill black babies. Who better me in heaven raise it, take it back to the 80s. The boom, bip, bap, and the bop, and the rap. Stolen cop car, hop in the back, pop in the cap. They ain't locking the cat, rocking the track, cocking the back. Hip hop from the doctor operating, never dropping the whack. The White House digging through your emails. Entertainment industry run by homosexual females. The climate change is irrelevant. The global warming fearmongers trying to bring in the world government. Government poison its own with chemicals. Human beings being born with horns and tentacles. The program keeping you in your damn hood, mentally raping you and taking your manhood. Line Cheney, the phantom, abandon your plan and examine the famine, helping you preparing. I'm sharing awareness, I'm caring, I'm planning the cannon like Yosemite Salmon, the sons of man in the Wu-Tang Clan and the rugged man. And as a kid I wasn't interested in Transformers, wanted to be like Rambo and shoot rocket launches. Public relations, creations, rappers that are Freemasons, kissing dick for initiations. These are iffy situations. Felt good, did it sound good? Cool, I'm done.
One of the most important things that the messenger taught us was taking a bath at least once a day. A lot of us, before we accepted Islam, took a bath on the weekends. And that was mostly under the arms. They call it a pigeon bath. I was a soldier in the Nation of Islam and very militant. Matter of fact, I can show you a picture, I have it up here, of myself.
Yeah, which one is it?
This is a picture here of me with the bow tie on. Usually everybody could recognize a Muslim by the bow tie, the clean cut suits. Would you like to see my uniform?
Yeah, I'd love to.
I put this uniform on, I said, all praises to Allah. Because, you know, everybody wanted to get into the uniform, you see.
How did it make you feel when you were...
Oh, I felt proud. I wanted everybody to see me, you know. And when people saw me coming down the block with my uniform, you know, they said, where you going, brother? I said, I'm going to the mosque. You ought to come with me, you know. There it is. There it is. Boy.
How did you stand then?
I stood just like this when I stood post in the mosque, and we were very serious. You know, very serious.
What was the look for? The serious look?
Oh, that was the look. If you look at a Muslim boy, he would scare you because he had that look. And if you would have got up out of one of those seats to go against the minister, that would be the last you would learn a lesson because they would put a hurting on you.
The men who joined the Nation were known as the Fruit of Islam. They learned how to be soldiers for their cause in Fruit of Islam class.
That class had a lot of influence on us to see all of the brothers that live all over the city coming to one place. What they taught us was that we had been taking orders from Caucasians all of our lives. Now it's time to take orders from black men. We would all fall in. And if we didn't fall in, we'd fall in. And if we didn't fall in right, you see, he said, fall back out, get back over there, what do you think you're doing? We would get back over, you know, fall in, we would come back, fall in. And if we did it right that time, he said, okay. He said, left piece, right piece, original salute. And some brothers, they didn't do the original salute the way they should do it, you know. They would have their hand up here. He'd walk up to the brother and ball him out, just like in the army, you know. Get that hand right, brother, what kind of army do you think you're in? The brother, you know, just like that, you know. So we would come back ready front, and we would drill up and down the floor and whatnot, and it would sound so nice because we would all be in the same step, you know. For the step, hot, hip, ho, hip, ho, hip, ho, hip, ho, through here, ha, by the left flank, ha, left flank, ha.
Any Muslim who was big enough to walk was big enough to drill. Without discipline, black people would never learn how to do for themselves, and Elijah Muhammad did not want his followers depending on the white man. He felt that blacks had been begging the white man for too long, so when other blacks marched for integration, Elijah Muhammad preached separation.
I say again, and I hope that I could say this, and that the whole world of human being could hear it. Never to want to marry white people. If the Ku Klux Klan want to keep their race white, I say, help yourself. Go to it. Now, when I say I want to keep mine black, Ku Klux Klan, keep your mouth out of it.
Elijah Muhammad's followers were openly critical of Martin Luther King's approach to civil rights.
The Muslims don't believe in forcing themselves in neighborhoods where we're on it. But anybody who sticks a dog on us is a dog himself. And we'll get the four-legged dog as well as the two-legged dog.
You know, and I know how much this people hates me. For what? Because I teach you the truth. That's all. They know that I'm doing a better job with you than any one ever appeared among you.
Elijah Muhammad's teachings did not arouse fear until the number of his followers began growing. Then both blacks and whites accused him of teaching hatred for white people coupled with black supremacy. Malcolm X, the most popular black Muslim in the early 1960s, defended his leader and teacher.
Mr. Muhammad's entire approach is to restore to the black man a knowledge of himself, a knowledge of his people, his cultural roots. And by doing this, this restores his racial identity, his racial dignity, his confidence as a race, racial confidence in his own kind. And when he gets this self-confidence, he's then able to stop blaming and begging the white man and is then able to stand on his own feet.
Others were calling Elijah Muhammad's Muslims a worse threat to the country than communism. And the FBI listed the Muslims as a black nationalist hate group and kept them under constant surveillance. But by the time Elijah Muhammad passed away, the country's mood had changed, and Americans praised the 137-pound Muslim leader for having built a nation from scratch.
He was the father of black self-consciousness. During our colored and Negro days, he was black.
About 6 months ago, News Center 4 producer Sharon Sofer met with the Honorable Wallace D. Muhammad, the new leader of the Nation of Islam. Our exclusive series of reports that came out of that meeting continues tonight with a profile of the new Muslim leader. Wallace Muhammad inherited his position the day after his father, Elijah Muhammad, passed away. Muslim believers had no difficulty accepting their new leader, but the press did. One reporter described Wallace Muhammad as a mild-mannered postal clerk of the 1940s who wasn't tough enough to keep rank-and-file members from fighting among themselves for power. The most powerful and popular Muslims fired back at the reporter's typewriters by pledging allegiance to their new leader.
There's no leadership crisis in the Nation of Islam. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the royal family of Muhammad, and the Nation of Islam have chosen Minister Wallace D. Muhammad as the spiritual and administrative leader of the Nation of Islam.
The soft-spoken new leader was quick to test the loyalty of his followers. He marked off the 43 years his father had ruled and labeled them the first resurrection. He kicked off the second resurrection by giving the nation a facelift. He opened up membership to Caucasians. He gave the sisters permission to stay out after dark. Malcolm X could no longer be referred to as a hypocrite. Believers could boogie in public. Elijah Muhammad ran the nation like a military leader. He issued orders, and the believers were expected to follow those orders, no questions asked. His son changed that. He introduced democracy into the nation by creating a national decision-making board. 7 regional ministers sit on the board as representatives of the grassroots level believers in the 200 mosques scattered throughout the United States.
We're failing to communicate with the people as we should communicate with the people. The people don't know enough about what we're doing.
The chief minister began his policy of telling the believers the facts 1 year after taking office, when he destroyed the myth that the nation was an $80 million empire. According to him, the businesses were in millions of dollars of debt. He decided to sell all of the nation's businesses, except their newspaper and the fish importing operations. According to the chief minister, he made the decision for spiritual as well as economic reasons.
Many ministers were big investors in the local businesses. And what it did was took ministers from their spiritual life and made many of them just business people, and I mean business people in the worst way. People that couldn't talk a spiritual development for thinking about dollars.
On August 22nd, 15,000 Muslims rendezvoused in Atlanta, Georgia for something new, an interfaith, interracial community meeting sponsored and organized by their leader and teacher, Wallace D. Muhammad. The mayor of Atlanta welcomed the chief minister to his city.
I think we should applaud the Nation of Islam and all of the cooperating organizations and religions for the attempt at oneness.
The chief minister has been appearing at meetings like this to gain wider acceptance among non-Muslims who still view the nation as an army of black militants ready to destroy white America. The Atlanta meeting was not very successful in attracting outsiders.
There is not the level of biracial activity that I'm sure all of us would want to have seen, but understand one thing, that you made the attempt. You did not close the door. It is not your fault.
Politicians are giving more recognition to the nation as it continues moving into the mainstream. Mayor Beam appointed a commissioner as the liaison between the city of New York and the nation. The commissioner takes community leaders on tours of the local mosque as a part of his official duties.
I think the amazing thing you're going to see, Monsignor, is that dead center in the middle of Harlem, of the ghetto area, where there's devastation almost. There are junkies. It's junkie haven, a block of either side. In the middle of this is this jewel, you may say. And here you're going to see stores immaculately clean. You're going to see people who are completely dedicated to self-help, to pride.
Reversing the whole time.
Reversing the entire tribe.
Commissioner Walsh weds non-Muslim and Muslim in hopes of creating a better New York. He believes the Muslims have the remedies for many of urban America's social ills. The chief minister engineered the concept for a new community action program called the Blight Arrest Pioneer Patrol, a fleet of security-trained Muslims who respond to distress calls from neighbors in trouble.
Check on those other doors around the east side.
Base to 2250. Come in 2250.
Base to 2250, back to base, go to base.
You have an emergency call, 1037.
2250, over.
Why teach that you shouldn't sin, and sinners are going to hell, and let the community go to hell under just ignorance?
Wallace Muhammad is interested in making the world a better place for everybody who lives in it. His father was only interested in improving conditions for himself, his family, and his followers. In 1972, Elijah Muhammad withdrew $2 million from his personal gift account and built this palace for himself and a miniature palace for each one of his sons and daughters. The chief minister took producer Sharon Silver on a walking tour of his father's palace.
He wanted something for his people to see, that he had really achieved something of the material heaven on earth. So what you see here in this palace is the dream came true for the late Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, as you know, I don't live here, and it's not because I don't respect this dream. I do have a lot of respect for his dream. This was his dream, not my dream.
The chief minister won't ride in anything other than this black Pontiac, even though the nation does own several limousines. He despises anything flashy, dismissing it as pop and glitter.
When I came into office, I asked all the ministers to get rid of their diamond rings, get rid of your stick pins, don't wear furs, don't wear minks. I said, if you wear those things, you better keep them hid from me, because if I see them, you're going to lose your position. And I had the followers backing me. They supported that because they don't like to see their monies, donations going to make somebody look like a Superfly pimp.
The chief minister lives in this middle-income neighborhood on the south side of Chicago, where homes range in price from $25,000 to $35,000. His home is comfortable, but not luxurious. In keeping with his modest lifestyle, the chief minister frequently does the family cooking. It's cheaper than taking the family out to eat, and it's something he enjoys, because it's a break from the responsibility of being the leader of a nation in transition.
I'm not here to breathe air and eat food and drink water and good drinks and wear these clothes and ride around in cars and have relationship with my wife and my children. I'm not here for that. I'm here to serve truth, and only one truth. That's Allah's truth.
On February 26th of 1977, Wallace Muhammad will call for a vote of confidence from his followers, but that doesn't keep him from being critical of them. He chastises weak Muslims by calling them sissies.
Don't be afraid of the sissies. They don't frighten me. Right up here, you got sissies. Right up here, there are sissies. I don't have to identify them. You know some of the sissies that sit up here. In every mosque leadership, you got some sissies. Now, who are you going to follow, me or the sissies? All right.
Tomorrow evening here on News Center 4, we'll travel with the chief minister stable, so did Elijah Muhammad's nation. And tonight, in our continuing exclusive series on the Nation of Islam, we present a profile of one family who have lived on 119th Street in Harlem for the past 20 years. Ease on up to Harlem any Saturday night, and this is what you'll find at the Rasulullah home on 119th Street. Good, clean family fun. It's a main ingredient of the Muslim way of life. There are 3 generations of Muslims in this family, grandparents, their 7 sons and daughters, including this one, doing her impression of Dorothy in The Wiz, and the 17 Rasulullah grandchildren, a total of 32 registered Muslims. The grandfather was the first member of the family to accept Islam. He became a soldier in the nation's army in 1954. For the past 22 years, Brother James has been in charge of the body check room at the mosque. And for almost the same number of years, he's been selling the nation's newspaper. Every Saturday, he delivers the word of Muhammad to his regular customers.
I couldn't provide for my family. I couldn't live in the community. I couldn't have the things I have today unless Allah wasn't with me and didn't bless me.
Each member of the family had personal reasons for joining the nation. A daughter-in-law explains why she decided to raise her daughter as a Muslim instead of a Christian.
Very early when she began going to church. And in most black churches that I had attended, it was always whenever you see a picture of Christ or an angel or whatever, it was always Caucasian, white. So one day we were standing at the corner from my house at a newsstand, and this white Caucasian came up. He had long hair and he had beard on his face and mustache. So she was so excited when she saw, this Caucasian come up. All of a sudden she looked up, and she says, "Mommy, Mommy," and I could tell, by the, the excitement in her voice, that it was something important. I said, "Well, what is it?" I said, "What? Look, Mommy, look, there's Jeezy," So she thought it was Jesus that had walked up, and I could see this love, this compassion that she had for this man, and he was a stranger, was a hippie, So that was one of the main things that woke me up, and I began to realize the association. I said, well, she sees Jesus or the picture of Christ in, the Caucasian and a white person. So I said, well, if she has all this love for a white, this picture for Jesus and this image of being white or whatever, I said she should have this for herself,
Some of the younger children didn't like the nation at first.
At 12 years old, I had got a little taste of the church life. And even though I really wasn't deep into it, I thought maybe it was kind of right. So I had vowed to myself that when I turned 18, that I wouldn't say anything to my parents, but I would leave the nation and go back to church or go back to wherever I thought was right. But at the time when I got to about 14 years old, 15, I started realizing that Islam was what I really wanted. Because out in the street, you would see young girls my age, they were having babies, not married. They would get on dope, they would die from overdose. and partying and all that. You know, this is something that I really didn't want to get into.
This daughter and two of her sisters met their husbands at the nation's mosque in Bermuda. None of them are having marital problems. She attributes the success of their marriages to the teachings of Islam, which encourages men to protect their wives, physically and financially. This family is typical of the average Muslim family because all of the adult members are married and they are all employed. Nobody is on welfare. Muslims believe in self-development, so they frown on anyone who relies on handouts from the government. Prayer is one of the 5 pillars of the Islamic religion. Every Muslim family is supposed to begin and end each day with prayer. It's a way of unifying the family.
There is no God but thou. Thou art my Lord, and there's all my... I feel that it's imperative that my children say their prayers in the morning. I have been greatly... Well, as the old saying goes, a family that prays together stays together.
Mommy, I'm getting ready to go to school.
I feel the security that Allah will guide them in the right direction where they will get to their destination safely. When they go out in the morning, they're going out with peace on their mind, with love on their mind. I feel that it may generate some vibrations so that when they go with peace, they will receive peace also.
Sound on Muhammad, break it on down. M-U-H-A-M-M-A-D to the rip. Mark. Left face. Left face. Left face.
All of the Rasulullah women were members of the Muslim training classes for girls. There they were taught drilling, discipline, and the proper conduct for the Muslim woman.
Original salute. Ready, front.
They taught us no sex before marriage. So.
You plan to abide by that until you're ready?
Yes. Until.
When they were coming up, there's no men ever touched them at all my sisters. And that's beautiful.
Deborah, was there peer pressure on you when you were growing up as a Muslim to have sex or any of these things other kids were doing?
You hear a lot about partying and you wanted to participate sometimes, but then you go back and think on what you were taught, you know. You say, well, I'm a Muslim and I'm going to stay this and this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be, you know.
Where did you find the strength?
Well, the strength was planted. It was already in me. I didn't have to find it, you know. It was already here.
Why are you crying, Mrs. Rasulullah?
Well, I'm very proud. Go ahead. I'm very proud to hear my daughter sit there and talk, and it makes me feel good that she bears witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, may the peace and blessing be upon him, and now the Chief Minister, Wallace D. Muhammad, has taught us. It makes me feel wonderful that she have that mind, and I really didn't know that was in her, but it came out. And I can say all praise is due to Allah, that I think she will be a good, strong mother and a wife. And I thank Allah for Deborah and her husband. She have a wonderful husband, and Deborah was always very close to me, and I was kind of skeptical of her getting married because I didn't think she, would ever get a husband that was as close to her as her father. But I thank Allah that she got a husband. Almost, I can say, like my husband, like her father.
Join us tomorrow night here for a television first as our cameras go inside several Muslim mosques to film the nation's Muslims in prayer. It's never been seen before on television. Thanksgiving is a holiday never before observed by the nation of Islam, but the nation is changing. So this year the Muslims are recognizing Thanksgiving. In keeping with this new spirit, the nation opened the doors of its mosque to us so we could film their believers at prayer, something never seen before on television.
My holy name is Mehdi. It means rightly guided, and my father gave it to me.
My name is Jamal Amir Muhammad, and the name means Jamal means handsome, Amir means prince, and Muhammad means worship of praise. And I loved the names he gave to me, and so I like to keep them.
Why do you like these names better?
Because I didn't like the slaves' names. They didn't sound right. decent sound just right on me.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Little by little, Wallace Muhammad is revamping the homegrown version of Islam his father introduced. By Christmas of 1977, all of his followers are supposed to replace their slave, or X names, with holy names, another step in bringing more of the East to the West. As one Muslim put it, the master, Elijah Muhammad, grew us up as human beings, so his son could grow us into Islam.
I boast that I follow Orthodox Islam, if we mean by Orthodox, the original teachings of Prophet Muhammad, to whom the Holy Quran was revealed about 1,400 years ago. I boast that I follow it better than anybody I know. I don't think it's followed in Mecca better than I follow it.
Every Friday afternoon, the nation's 200 mosques fill up with believers answering the call to prayer. This particular prayer is called Jummah, which means community prayer. The entire world population of Muslims, about 600 million, make Jummah at the same time. It's their way of expressing unity and brotherhood. Until a few months ago, the nation's 70,000 Muslims couldn't participate in Jummah prayer because they didn't know how to prostrate themselves to Allah properly. This was the only way they knew to pray, the way they had been taught by Elijah Muhammad. So before they could join the rest of the world's Muslims for Jummah prayer, they had to be taught.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah.
This man is an imam, a religious scholar appointed by the chief minister to school the nation's followers in Islam.
Hayya al-falah. You should say Hayya al-salat, right? Hayya al-salat, like that. Hayya al-salat, okay? Then Hayya al-falah, you turn to the left, okay?
Prayer is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It's the Muslims' way of giving thanks and praise to their God, Allah. Muslims respect and enforce their own laws. The seed of discipline is planted in them at birth. So by the time they reach this age, they're accustomed to the Muslim way of life. Frisking each other for weapons at school is second nature to them.
They've been trained, to search anyone coming into the mosque, search anyone coming into the school, and it's a measure that's been built into them.
The Muslim society has a tradition of rules and regulations which govern the behavior of anyone who becomes part of it. For example, those who attend mosque meetings must submit to a body check. In Chicago, it's a simple matter of walking through a metal detector. In New York, mosque visitors are searched by registered Muslims appointed to the post by the minister. Before entering the mosque, all shoes must be removed. The mosque is the house of God, a place of worship, so Muslims don't want visitors carrying the filth of the earth into the mosque on the bottoms of their shoes. It's the duty of every Muslim in the mosque to recruit new believers. It's called fishing. This brother is the master fisherman of New York City. He pulls as many as 100 new believers off these streets every month with his raft.
My name is Muhammad Bilal. What's your name? Bobby? You ever been to the mosque before? Nobody never invited you? I'm inviting you, man. What's happening tomorrow? What you doing tomorrow? And what you doing about 1 o'clock? Dig it. I'm not trying to convert you, brother. All I want you to do is listen, all right? If you dig it, you squat. If you don't, you get up and split. A good-looking woman like you make a good Muslim. Yeah, that's so? Right. Huh? You think so? Most definitely so. Why don't you come on and pay us a visit?
Well, I can't right now.
Not right now. Tomorrow, dear.
Tomorrow? What time tomorrow?
1 o'clock, and I'll give you an invitation, and I'll be standing out here, and I'll be glad to escort you inside myself.
Those who become believers in Islam in one of the nation's mosques become part of the world community of Muslims. The nation's believers are allowed to visit the holy city, Mecca. They can kiss the holy black stone at the Kaaba. They can stone the devil. They can make Hajj, the Muslims' pilgrimage. The chief minister has made 3. So far this year, nation business has taken the chief minister to Libya, Turkey, the People's Republic of China, and Guyana, South America. We accompanied the chief minister on his state visit to Guyana, a socialist country with a Muslim population of 120,000.
The Honorable Wallace Muhammad
is a distinguished personage. He is also the head of an important and significant faith in the Western world, devotees of which we have here, and a faith for which we have the greatest respect.
Guyana's Prime Minister Burnham himself greeted the chief minister right at the front steps of his official residence in Georgetown.
Long time no see, man.
They've been personal friends since they first met in 1972. Producer Sharon Sofer was granted an exclusive interview with Prime Minister Burnham.
Is the Nation of Islam inspiration for the black people of Ghana?
Well, I think it's an inspiration for any downtrodden and oppressed people. What they have been able to do amongst the blacks is a lesson for all of us who have been oppressed or who are threatened with oppression.
Guyana is rich in resources like bauxite, shrimp, and diamonds, but its people are poor. Guyana's industries have been under foreign rule since the 18th century. According to a report by the Guyanan government, Canada exported $1 billion worth of bauxite from Guyana in a 53-year period, but only 1.3% of that whole $1 billion stayed in Guyana. In 1971, Guyanans ousted the Canadian industrialists and nationalized its bauxite industry in hopes of improving the standard of living for its citizenry. Islam has a long history in Guyana, but the nation didn't establish its mosque there until 1973. Until the chief minister made this visit, the other Muslim sects had never come together for prayer as a community. He united the Muslim sects and encouraged them to forget their differences so they could aid in the development of their country.
You don't have any threatening false gods in Guyana. You are still on the path of human development. In this part of the world, there is no real need to come in and destroy before building. But in most of the world, there's a need to destroy before building. Because the whole life has become false. The people have nothing real that they're holding on to. But in these parts of the world they call the undeveloped lands, there is hope for you to continue to grow without facing the great judgment.
Join us here tomorrow night for the continuation of our exclusive series on the Nation of Islam for a visit with 108 Muslims behind bars at a prison in upstate New York. You've heard people being so ugly they could stop traffic. Well, check this. Islam, Elijah Muhammad, his son Wallace, and Malcolm X all did time. Today, the nation has registered members in 210 prisons throughout the United States, a total of 12,000 Muslims. The interesting thing is that only about 5 to 10% of all these people were Muslims before they went to jail. The rest were recruited after they got there. Today, in our continuing series on the Nation of Islam, we visit Muslim inmates at Clinton Prison.
I don't need to go nowhere, but I think I'm free. I'm already free. If Allah sets me free, that's it.
In the folds of hilly upstate New York, large numbers of inmate Muslims are locked away from everything but their God, Allah. Only 10 years ago, New York's Commissioner of Corrections resisted the court decision that made it a right for Muslims to practice their religion behind bars. He claimed that Muslim inmates would create discipline problems, but apparently he was wrong. Today, administrators who run the prisons cite Muslims as model prisoners.
If all inmates followed the precepts of their religion as closely as the Wallace D. Muhammad inmates are apparently following, we wouldn't have any prisons.
This inmate is the minister for the 108 registered Muslims in Clinton Prison. He's serving 20 years to natural life for the assassination of Malcolm X. 10 years ago, Muslims weren't very popular with anybody inside the institutions. The other inmates referred to them as robots because they weren't allowed to play sports or mix with non-Muslims. But things have changed since the leadership switched hands from Elijah Muhammad to his son Wallace. The captain of this football team, number 53, is the assistant minister of the inmate Muslim population at Clinton.
There was a time when Muslims didn't play or participate in football because at that time we were in a more rigid-like environment. this is one of the reasons why most of the brothers now love the Honorable Wallace D. Muhammad so much, because he's given us the opportunity to show that we can participate in anything anybody else do and still be Muslims and carry ourselves in an orderly fashion and uphold that pure righteous banner.
Before 1963, the Islamic religion practiced by the black Muslims was not recognized as a true religion, so ministers from the outside were not allowed inside the prisons. Today, 2 Muslim ministers are on the New York State payroll as official chaplains. The state-paid Muslim chaplains counsel their religion's inmate prisoners, so the Islam being taught inside the prisons is the same Islam that's being taught on the outside. At one time, the Islam practiced by inmates was a jailhouse version.
In the early 50s, of course, we were not getting any visitors from the outside. It was something the inmates, were getting up on their own. Their teachings were considered radical. They were considered a threat to the security of the facility. Gradually, the influence from the outside has had a very leveling, mellowing effect. And I believe this has made a great deal of difference.
The change in the attitude and behavior of the Wallace D. Muhammad group since he took over.
Once a month, the superintendent meets with the inmate minister of the incarcerated Muslims for a no-holds-barred exchange.
I don't think you're aware of what took place a couple weeks ago. I'm almost certain you're not. We had 56 guests that was invited from reception, and about 20 Caucasian brothers were not allowed to participate. And I just thought maybe, that I would bring it to your attention now that I have the opportunity,
Well, it's a policy when the services are held during Saturday or Sunday or during non-program hours, that anyone can attend who indicates that they want to go.
We felt kind of bad about it.
Muslims are the largest organized inmate group in Clinton, and that gives them power. And the fact that they're serious also makes them powerful.
I want to speak about religion, history, and continents. We're going to have to be very versed.
Clinton's yard is unique. It looks more like a hobo camp than a prison facility, with tin can smokestacks reaching up to the sky and monogrammed birdhouses. Clinton's yard contains 336 courts, each identified by a number. Every court is the property of a specific group of inmates who have homesteaders' rights to their plot of ground. Stepping foot on somebody else's court without first getting permission is a violation of inmate etiquette and can lead to serious trouble. The activity on the courts varies with the personalities of the owners. The Muslims control 19 of the 336 courts. They spend all of their time studying, sometimes Arabic, sometimes the Holy Quran, their Bible. The only thing Muslims are not allowed to do in the yard is proselytize, but this doesn't keep the Muslim ranks from growing. When the call to prayer is given at the Muslims' weekly meeting, their makeshift mosque is jammed with brothers, ready to give all praises to Allah. Only 3 of the 108 Muslims at Clinton were registered members of the religion before they were imprisoned. Most Muslims behind bars accepted Islam after they got there. That's the way it is all across the country. According to officials of the Nation of Islam, they know every believer who is doing time because so few of them get arrested.
A few words from our beloved leader and teacher.
Only 2 of the 108 registered Muslims at Clinton have ever heard the chief minister of the Nation of Islam speak in person. So, at every meeting, portions of his teachings are played back for the believers.
I'm going to make him acknowledge.
Officers assigned to the Muslim meeting stay on the outside of the makeshift mosque walls, even though as many as 200 inmates may be gathered on the other side. The officer in charge tells why.
The followers of Wallace D. Muhammad, we have very few problems with them. Well, because of the discipline, I think, in their organization themselves, they're very strict on their own followers. They keep them neat and clean, and they tell them not to get into any trouble, and if they do, they usually try to take care of some of the problems themselves.
For 43 years, this sect of Muslims did teach and believe that Caucasians were blue-eyed devils, the enemy of the black man. This is no longer the case. Caucasians are now welcomed into the mosque, There are 3 registered Caucasian Muslims at Clinton.
The Muslim is trying to teach brotherhood, love. See, it's just like saying, if you could show 1/10 of the love that you show for a woman when you really fall in love with a woman, for your fellow man and for God, you'd have a great world here.
You ain't in no prison. The only prison that you can be in is in your mind. Is that understood? You can be on the corner of 115th Street, and if you're a dope fiend, you in a prison. Because the only thing you do is go to the cop man up on the roof in the shooting gallery, get off, go downtown and steal something, come back up, sell it, go back to the cop man. That's a prison.
At the height of their spiritual ecstasy, Muslims feel free of the bars that confine them and the guards who control them.
The only way you can be in prison is that your mind has been captured. Right? There are many people that are in the so-called free world that should be where we are right now. Right? Not in a compound environment, but in a spiritual environment. A spiritual environment that is dedicated to freedom, justice, and equality and the upliftment of humanity. Because if you're a racist, you're in prison. Right? If you're a segregationist, you're in prison. If you're running around talking about you love everybody in the world and yet you can't even muster up enough love to love yourself and get out of some stinking slum, you're in prison. If you're living in the White House and you're doing things contrary to what a dignified order should be doing, then you're in prison. Anything contrary to the teachings of Almighty God Allah given to us by the Honorable Wallace D. Muhammad is a prison.
Monday night here we'll take a look at women's liberation Muslim style in our continuing series on the nation of Islam. Now with the weather ahead, after a truly fantastic day, how high did it get today?
6.